Hello, my name is Andreas. I'm a co-founder of Toddle, and today I want to show you a little bit about what Toddle can do. So we're going to build a weather application using an open API, and we're going to build the design from scratch in Toddle. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add some elements onto our page. We're going to start by adding a container, and inside that we're going to add a heading 1. So now that we have a little bit on the page, we're going to actually immediately hook that up to live data, because designing with data is generally the nicest way to work with Toddle. So we're going to go to our data tab, and then we're going to add an API. And in here we're going to call it weather. And we actually already ship by default the weather API, because it's a nice little way to play around and get started. But you can add any API request in here you want, right? So in Toddle, when you create an API, it automatically fetches the data for you. So over here on the right, you can see we've got all the data already coming back from the server. And we can see we're returning some location information about where we're calling from. We've got some current weather information, and then we got this whole daily forecast we have down here. So we're gonna build a weather API using this data we got back from the server. The first thing we're going to do is go back and pick our text inside this heading element. And instead of just changing it to another static value, we're actually going to click this little FX button. And this allows us to bind this value to a formula. And in this case, we're going to pick the data coming back from our API. We're going to pick the location data, and inside that we have the current city we're in. So that shows now in the h1 exactly what we got back from the API. We've got our current location. Then we're going to add a list. So we want to show each daily forecast. For each day we want to show the temperature and the weather. So what I added now here is some list items. And I can take this li, this list item, and I can choose from attributes to repeat it by clicking here. And again, we're in the formula editor, and we're going to pick, in this case, our daily data. And this is like a list for each day. It returns some weather information for that day. And by choosing repeat and choosing this list, we're actually going to repeat this element for each item in the list. So I'm then going to add another container here. And then inside, I want to add a span. So span is just like a simple text container. And here on the span, again, we're going to bind this. And now because we're repeating, we have access to this repeat item. So that means that for each item in the list, it's going to return slightly different data for each of those items it got back from the API. So I'm going to get the item, and then I'm going to pick out the day. So that'll show what day we're actually showing right now. And then I'm going to add another span. And in that, I am going to add you the temperature. So again, we're going into the item, we're getting the temp out, and we're getting the day temp out. Right. So let's add a little bit of styling. So this is a little bit messy. So we could start by maybe setting the size of our container here, picking our parent and actually centering it. There we go. And then maybe this list item, I think, should have a nice background. Let's add that. That should work. We're going to add a bit of padding and round off some corners. And then let's just add a bit of spacing in between. We can use the gap property here. Right, that looks pretty good. Maybe we'll even add a little bit of spacing up to the top element here. There we go. Finally, we can also, to this item, we can also add a image. Let's go and add that. And our API, instead of using our default cat image here, we can actually go and bind that again to a weather icon coming back from the API. So again, we go into item. We have this one called weather down here, and icons and small. Initially, that gets quite a big one. Let's just adjust our layout a bit here. There we are. There we go. We can even just center this a little bit. And maybe just touch up some of these a bit. This text could be Actually, we're just gonna make this bold, I think. I think that works pretty well. And maybe we'll add a little bit of gap in here, space it out a bit. So now we have a nice little weather app, and we can now go here to our project settings, and we can actually click preview in the bottom left corner here. I'm just gonna move myself. There we go, and click preview. And now we can see this live weather app running directly in the browser. And if you go to this URL, demo-weather@toddle.site, you'll see the exact same thing for your location. So thank you very much for listening, and hopefully you got a little bit excited about what Toddle is going to bring.